Hello, everyone. Welcome to Firefall Live. I'm Frank Leatieri, aka Faded Pez, community manager here for Red 5 Studios and Firefall. We have a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the big news, itemization changes. That's probably going to take up most of the show. And today we have Cloudchaser with us. He's joining us today to talk about the itemization changes. Our systems designer who worked on itemization. Oh. And Mika's here too.
Yeah, Mika's here too, of course. Can't do without
Days of
Mika.
Purple, of course.
Oh, thanks for having me on the show today, Frank.
Yeah, I'm glad you came back. I mean, you were on the show before, but I think that was actually one of the very few episodes I missed.
Well, I'm still a little camera shy, so please forgive me for that.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We'll just keep it conversational, It's just us in here. Those cameras aren't there.
All right. Fingers crossed.
So yeah, everyone, big news. I guess one of the changes you may not have been expecting, but I'm really excited for is the itemization changes. We had a blog that was posted earlier this week that we wrote outlining all the changes. So TLDR, I guess, cores are breaking out into 5 equipment pieces.
Yep.
We are adding 4 more secondary equipment slots. Yep. And we are adding an auxiliary weapon slot.
That's right. That sums it up, yeah.
Got it.
TLDR,
I spent like a week and a half on this blog. So it was like that's basically the TLDR of the system. Now, so what's the big change? Why the big change with that?
Well, so Firefall has been going through a lot of changes, and as I'm sure our players have noticed, the direction that we really are going in is establishing Firefall as a MMO. Now, we are a FPS MMO. We are integral to our game, a first-person shooter, but we also want a game that has a tangible sense of progression and a breadth of content where you as a player and as your character can advance up in tiers throughout that content and always be feeling stronger and more powerful as you continue to play. That's
awesome. Yeah, and one of the changes, and we got called out on this, one of the changes we made in the past was we had servos and reactor and all that, and we took that and we're like, okay, we're going to turn this into a core because this is going to be good to balance with. There will be a lot of cores and a lot of customization, and we are bad on that, right? Like
the wheel of time is always turning.
Yes, it is.
Everything that has ever been in game design will happen again, and what has happened will undo itself in due time.
Yes, but it's really cool because these changes, and I'm talking about the primary equipment slots right now, not even the secondaries yet. But these changes are really cool because it really gives you a much finer degree of customization to your builds.
So the important thing for us was, now when we went to the single core system, immediately after that we started realizing the weaknesses with that. For one thing, people always felt too squishy for their character level and for the content that they were playing. And well, the biggest problem with that is that your hit points were really entirely based on one single piece of equipment. And if you didn't have a decent piece of that equipment for your current level or very near your current level, then your hit points are falling behind on the curve and things are killing you too quickly. Yeah. And so breaking that up into 4 primary pieces that each have health as their primary stat, that makes it a lot easier to keep your health towards a good average as you level up, because you can be replacing different pieces of gear at a faster clip, and on the average item level of the pieces that is contributing towards your health is staying closer to where we want it to.
That's awesome. Yes. So yeah, again, I'm really excited. Now, the other thing we mentioned in the TLDR there was secondary equipment slots.
Yep.
One of those is a medical system.
That's right. So another, this is mostly a big quality of life thing. Something that for me has always been a huge personal issue is I dislike consumable items in MMOs because I always want to hoard them and never use them. They just sit in my inventory.
I have that problem as well.
Right, and that's the thing. A lot of people do. Yeah. And so even though it's inexpensive just to go and craft a pile of small health packs, It's just the sheer investment aspect of it that you need to go and do it, and also that then you need to get yourself out of the mindset of saving them for when you really need it. That really, that's the issue with consumable. So instead, we're going to it as it's one of your pieces of equipment. As a passive stat, it determines the rate at which you regenerate health. So by equipping a better medical system, you would just passively regenerate faster. But then in addition to that, it fills the role that the health packs did, and that you can activate it with a hotkey, so you don't have to put on one of your hotbar spaces, and that'll just heal you, and that has a 60-second cooldown by default.
Yeah, that's really cool. And some of the higher rarities of medical systems, when you activate them, or even passively have special effects. Like I think I have one internally where if I activate it, I gain 20% increased damage for 5 seconds.
That's right. They have secondary effects on them, which are determined by a prefix system. Some of those effects include just much reduced cooldown, increased healing when you activate it, increased passive regeneration on it, and then the actual active ones, such as giving you a temporary damage buff, putting a shield on you for a few seconds that will help stabilize your hit points from incoming damage. We've got one that will regenerate your jet energy when used, so if you happen to be jump jetting, you can get several more seconds of flying.
That's
A lot
really
of different
cool.
things to try.
Yes.
What were the other secondary slots? We had the gadgets.
So then there's the operating system.
The operating
and
system.
the gadgets.
I was confused. I was like going in my head. I'm like, is that a
Yeah.
primary or secondary? It is the operating system. Yes.
So basically, the difference between what we're calling the primary equipment and the secondary equipment is that the primary equipment has one of the two core stats on it, which is either increases your max health or increases your power rating, giving you more damage.
Ah,
So
that's an
why,
easy way to think about it then.
So the 5 primary pieces of equipment are your headgear, arm gear, leg gear, and your chassis. Those give you health, and then your reactor gives you a large sum of power rating. So in the secondary equipment, we have the medical system, which we just covered, then the operating system, and 2 gadgets. So the operating system doesn't have health or power rating on it, but it can get a variety of ability stats and weapon stats. And those apply globally to whatever weapons you're using or whatever abilities you have equipped. Mind you, you can still get weapon ability stats on your other pieces of equipment as well, but the operating system is generally going to have more of these ratings and also doesn't have a primary stat. So it's another way to specifically target a type of stat you want to buff.
Oh, awesome. And then we have our 2 gadget slots. Now gadgets are
Gadgets are totally unique things. So I'm not really sure how much of our audience have played other more traditional online games or MMOs, but let's say if we look at the elephant in the room example of World of Warcraft, they have a piece of equipment called trinkets. Trinkets generally do not randomly drop in the world from enemies. They're not just generated by a prefix system. They tend to be handcrafted items that do a very specific thing. They tend to have some kind of flashy effect or a proc, or they can be activated to manually do something. So we're going in a similar direction with our 2 gadget slots. Think of these like extra special perks that you can find as mission rewards, and you can choose from all of them that you collect, any 2 of them that you want to equip.
So a classic example that you guys can probably relate to right now is Judgment will become a gadget.
That's right. So in the past, we had made a few special modules that would do things like procs, like Judgment for Operation Miru. Every 8 seconds when you shoot something with your gun, we'll launch a little micro missile that homes in on them and goes and explodes on them. I loved making that one. That was a ton of fun.
I love
was
using it.
Hyper about it for a while. But you know, when the gadget slots are an opportunity to make you not have to weigh that against using a normal red module there. You can still get your rate of fire there, or critical damage in the new upcoming module system. And you can instead put that in one of these 2 new equipment slots we created for it and put it in the gadget slot. And then it'll apply to both your primary or your secondary weapon when you deal damage with it.
That's awesome. I think some other examples in our blog that we showed were the Queen's Heart.
Yep.
And the Scorcher Pheromone Sprayer.
Yep, the Scorcher Pheromone Sprayer. That's a fun one also. That one will make a pet Scorcher pop up every now and then, and it'll spit acid at your enemies.
I was using that in a playtest through Redacted. and the little guy kept on running around. Everyone kept on getting confused. They were like shooting at it. I'm like, oh, that's your pet, damn it.
Hey, the good thing is it also distracts enemies.
That's true. But that's really cool. Really giving you that, like that little extra something to really play with. They really are like gadgets. It like gives you like that little extra special thing.
I think the most popular one is going to be the fuzzy dice.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
we didn't spoil
Heard
the
that.
fuzzy dice.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't even know that one.
It's lucky. That's all it is.
That's literally what the description says. You're going to have to
Yeah,
figure it
check that
out,
out.
guys.
Gives you luck.
It's like that Brian Regan thing. Take luck and care for it. All right. So that's really, it's all really exciting stuff. Now, last but not least, we have the auxiliary weapon.
Yes.
Now, for a long time, players have been talking about melee in the game. We didn't even have melee in the game earlier on in beta. We didn't have it until much, much later on. And now we're even moving further into a direction where it's like you can equip a weapon. Whereas currently, the only way to get the Sin Blade is to level up your Raptor.
Yep.
Get to, I think it's 30 you can get energy shaping, if not 20. And now you can do Sin Strike through a perk.
Yep. And now we are changing that, and it's just an item you can equip. The best way to think of the auxiliary weapons is that they are a battle frame ability that is not specific to a single frame, or an archetype rather. Instead, they are universal abilities that anyone can equip, kind of like how everyone can use all the secondary weapons. And so we have a set of them which represent melee weapons, like the Battle Hammer or the Energy Sword, which is basically what the Sin Blade used to be.
Yep.
And then we have some of them for people who aren't interested in melee. We have grenade options.
Yeah.
And so if you want, you can toss a frag grenade and have that as your auxiliary weapon equipped.
Now we showed some tool tips of the melee weapons in the blog, but we and we explained what the grenades are, but we didn't like. It's really awesome to show what they look like. We took some footage. If we can show some of that the grenade footage there, we can go through some of the grenades, and then we'll talk about David's favorite.
Just bear in mind that these
Hammer.
are still a work in progress. They're not fully polished yet, so you might see some weird jankiness with them in action.
You might. I tried to hide it. So we have our Fragmentation Grenade, which is standard, run-of-the-mill, like what you would expect out of a grenade.
The frag grenade detonates after a 2-second timer.
It does detonate after a 2-second timer there.
My
These
favorite
poor
shot.
little hissers.
Yeah.
I like the unsuspecting group.
Just mind their own business.
There it is. This is like a troll grenade. Like, boop. Now we have our Freeze Grenade.
This one detonates on impact, and things that survive the damage are rooted in place for several seconds and can't move.
One thing that came up, I think people were concerned about how that's going to work against players, but
You're not going to be able to use it against players, to my knowledge, because we're not really going to have, well, I'm not really sure how much of the PvP stuff is set in stone, but I currently don't believe you'll be able to take your equipment from outside of it into it. And if we do end up in a situation like that, we will probably make crowd control effects work differently against players than they do against enemies.
so currently a change was made, I think back in 1.2-ish era, where, is this Incendiary?
That is. So the incendiary grenade puts a damage over time effect on everything that gets hit by the initial blast.
These are very poorly placed grenades, actually. Like, I couldn't do any worse if I tried.
Chemical's my favorite.
Chemical looks really cool.
Death Field.
So yeah, it basically puts exactly what you would think. It puts a little acid pool on the ground and.
Don't need to deal this now. Looking from that angle.
What?
That thing.
That was a good angle.
That was a good angle. I didn't say it was a bad angle.
I like that one where the hisser like runs into the pool. It's like
He's like, brothers.
And then we have the Tesla.
So I'm still working on this one a bit. It's pretty interesting, though. It's the worst option for direct damage, but it will zap enemies nearby to it, and it makes them deal reduced damage with all of their attacks and abilities.
Pea soup grenade. That's good. Yeah, so this one is interesting to me. When I was doing some playtests, this is the grenade I was running with because I feel like when I'm going in with a group of players, that's like a great support weapon right there. And then
Exactly.
the effects are amazing. So, but going back to the crowd control in PvP, roots and snares in PvP, we made this change a while ago. It's possible that we'll stay down this direction. If not, make it better. We'll see.
For duels and such, we were likely to make effects that would be a hard crowd control on a character actually just be a slow to some degree.
Right, but the effectiveness is the effectiveness of a root and snare is less on a player than it is on a mob. So that already exists.
Yep. Generally, as a player, it's not fun for the game to just tell you, no, you can't move, you can't do anything.
Right.
Too freaking bad. It's not fun, so we don't really want to put people in that situation.
Tesla grenades with my Tesla HMG. Oh yes, Decker, and that's going to be many electricities.
Very shocking.
So I brought this up to you about the Judgment Core. So one of the things we told players earlier on is if you have modules slotted in your equipment currently, we're not going to take it away from you. Now, Judgment is a module. Yes. What happens if I put the gadget, if I get the gadget and then equip that with the weapon?
So it's really difficult to discuss any kind of gear migration plans right now because really these plans are not set in stone.
Yeah.
We're still looking into possible options and what is going to really feel best for all players who have any of these items on their existing characters. But if I were to do nothing at all for any kind of migration, and you still have a legacy Judgment mod, can still equip it, what would actually happen is that the internal cooldown on it would double because that is a stat on the item itself. Sorry. And if you equipped the new gadget at the same time, because it's a stat on the module and a stat on the gadget, so those actually add together on your character. But likewise, the damage would double, so it's kind of not really anything. Still same damage, just more bursty. So it's not really going to break. You could still use it in either place fine. You could either use it as your weapon module or on the gadget, and it would work as expected.
Well, there you have it.
Boom.
I don't think it's going to be worth it. Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Again, we haven't really decided on any kind of gear migration plans, what we're going to be doing.
That's all.
So future, we'll get to that.
That's all a work in progress. We'll be announcing that much closer to when this is actually going to get released. Right now, we're gearing up to get all this stuff on PTS for you guys to test it. And the whole purpose is we want to get you guys prepared for this stuff, excited for the changes that are coming in, so you're ready to know what to test. So we're gearing up to get that on PTS. And I saw a few comments out there about content as well. And we are working on a lot of content. We have a lot of narrative-driven missions that are being worked on as well, in tandem to all the systems work, the combat work. That's a huge project in its own.
So one way to look at it is there's, say, 4 system designers. That's myself, Askius, Gortok, and Searstorm. And there are a lot of content designers. They're all building missions. And we also have a dedicated narrative team. We have 4 writers, including their lead.
Yep.
And they are writing missions and writing our game storyline and working in tandem with our content team. So even if we're not talking about upcoming content right now because we're showcasing a system, if I'm doing things related to equipment or perks or abilities, that doesn't mean that someone isn't making content.
Yeah.
You probably don't want me making missions anyways.
No. No. Well, I mean, so the thing is, too, we discussed core missions in a blog. We showed some of the cutscenes that our media team's been working in tandem with the art team on the dev side of things. So we've been showing some of that stuff, but it's hard to go in and show more than what we already did or to discuss it even further, because we want you to go in and experience the story, right? We want you to go in and have fun. And I don't know, if you ask me, when I'm looking at a game, I don't want to, I don't want someone, or even specifically the dev studio, to sit there and tell me like the story they're about to tell me so that I could get through playing. So that's why we're not really focused on core missions. We do have core missions. If you go on PTS, there's a brand new Operation High Tide is on there. along with some of the first core missions, I think up to level 20, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
So all that's a work in progress. So we're getting there, and we're getting
there's a
pretty
lot
close
more
to get that on
coming.
PTS, and there's a lot more coming and a lot more planned beyond that. So there's a ton of work, and we're committed to delivering a lot of content to you guys, as well as quality of life improvements through systems, interfaces, and all the like. But granted, we are still a pretty small studio. I mean, for the goals we're setting for ourselves and the project itself, we're still a pretty small studio trying to get this all done. We're doing everything we can to make the best experience possible.
And so sometimes that means we go quiet for a while between
might have to.
updates, and that generally means that really cool stuff is coming up.
They're all asking what Fuzzy Dice does. We're not going to answer. He's not going to
No, that's
answer.
easy. It makes you lucky.
It makes you lucky. What that
More
means?
questions and answers.
I'm under direct order from the overlords that you can see around the set.
There's one right there. Just kidding.
They're all around us. I'm under direct orders to not say what lucky means. It means you're lucky. I mean, really.
It means you're lucky.
Dictionary.com.
Everyone loves being lucky.
Lucky.
Thesaurus if you want. All those. It makes you lucky, yes.
Mika. You.
So we've gathered questions from you guys both on the itemization blog and the Firefall Live guest thread.
Mm-hmm.
And we've compiled them. Unfortunately, we can't get to all of them, but we picked ones that
We'll get to
Are-
as many as we
are
can.
best, yes, as many as we can. So the first one being, since cores are being separated into multiple items, what happens to the current cores?
So again, this is a migration plan thing. We are not necessarily final on what we're doing, but the direction we're moving in is that any cores you have, you'll be able to salvage, and they will convert into the 5 new major pieces of gear, the 4 ones with health and the reactor with power rating. That's
Again-
to make sure that people immediately, if there is just some kind of switch over, you have the equipment to get you at the right amount of health and your reactor for power rating.
Yeah, I mean, again, guys, the big thing to keep in mind is we don't have like a table of how this is all going to convert. We don't know how it's going to convert.
Yep.
It's going to require a lot of downtime because there's a lot of migrations that would need to happen should we go down that route. So there's a lot to be considered still, and a lot of discussion that needs to happen because
So we
it's
really
not
don't-
it's
right,
not really
yeah.
an easy write a 1-line script, take a nap and it's
So
over.
we really don't want everyone focusing in on the, oh my God, what about my existing stuff right now? We understand it's important. It's your time invested in the game. It's your character. We agree this is extremely important, but we just really can't share any details right now.
Good
It's still
follow up
underway.
there. Are things like torso slots frame dependent? No, they are not.
No, they are not actually. Now we potentially might move in that direction in the future for some special unique ones, but all the generic ones are not frame dependent. It's not like other games where you have light armor, medium armor, heavy armor. Instead, those health bonuses are baked into the type of battle frame. So dreadnoughts just always have a higher percentage of health than say an assault.
Mm-hmm. Awesome question. Thank you for asking that one.
The next being, which I'm curious about as well, will health packs become a necessary move once? You kind of touched on that earlier
Yeah.
for the medical system or also the
So,
reusable health packs too.
Consumable health packs will stop dropping in game or being craftable or being available on vendors. They essentially are being replaced by the medical system. We are not just going to delete any existing ones. You can still consume them and use them. One difference between them and the medical system is that the old health packs, consumables, give a percentage of your max health when you use them. The medical system gives a flat number based on its level and rarity, which is then affected by your power rating returned to the actual amount of healing. So there might be some situations where the really big health packs are still better if you want to use them up. There's also the question, what happens to the reusable ones that some people might have? We're not planning on taking those away. You could keep them slotted on your hotbar and still use them, but they will share they do all use a shared cooldown. The medical system and the health packs are on the same cooldown.
Gotcha.
There is another difference though. The medical system actually takes a little bit of durability damage when you activate it. So if you're in a mission for a long time using it a lot, you'll need to repair it. That's not true with a reusable health pack if you have a legacy one.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a really good medical system, though, I'm going to want like that effect of like,
Yeah, probably.
you know, reduced
yeah.
damage taken or increased damage dealt. You know, I'm going to want that. I guess if you want to go, you know.
Yeah.
This one is any new visuals and or sounds for legendary items.
Yes. So, as you guys saw from the blog that our community team teasered, at the very end of it, Frank stuck in 2 screenshots of 2 of our first legendary pieces of equipment. So I believe the ones that were shown there were the chassis Undying Sun and
Yep.
the legendary reactor Skybreaker.
Yes.
So, in a nutshell, yes. When we make a legendary item, it's going to have something about it that can sell it, that can let other people know that you have it and that it's working. In the case of that reactor, Skybreaker, it actually swaps out all the particle effects on your character's jump jets, and it makes them like this cool light blue that is imbued with crackling lightning. So you'll actually have lightning jump jets.
Yeah, it looks really cool. You know what? I'm going to have to like maybe post a GIF or a picture or something of it, you know, just to show it off. It looks really cool. And Skybreaker as a legendary itself,
Yep.
just to talk about legendaries, yeah, we have, I think that one, what does it doubles your jet energy
Not
pool?
quite double, but almost. Yeah. It gives you a
Almost.
lot of flight time, plus it boosts 5 of the basic ability stats for all of your equipped abilities. It increases recharge, force, potency,
It's so good.
duration, and one other thing that I can't remember right off the top of my
GIFs?
head.
I say gifts, I'm sorry.
So the chassis, on the other hand, the visual for that is more subtle in that we don't want something that's just always in your face with that. Instead, that one has a special proc that will happen if you're reduced to low health. You basically do this explosion of golden light. Any enemies nearby go flying back, and you heal back up to full health. And then you are practically immune to damage for a few seconds, and that damage immunity levels off slowly second over second until after 10 seconds, you're back to normal damage taken.
Hello, Mammoth.
So basically, it's kind of a middle finger to getting killed. You're going to die. You have this legendary chassis equipped. It says no, and then you don't.
What was its cooldown? I think 10 minutes?
It's a 5-minute cooldown.
That's still really good.
Yes, it's once every 5 minutes. It says screw you, death. No.
That's really good. I mean, 5 minutes is a really
So
short
that
cooldown for that
actually
kind of
showcases
effect.
the kind of thing where we're going for with the legendaries. Each legendary item itself is what we would term a rule breaker. Now, it's not an exploit or cheating, but it takes some basic aspect of the game, like say, in the case of the reactor, Skybreaker, well, normally everyone's base jet energy is 300. That equates to 3 seconds of vertical flight. Skybreaker adds more than 200 jet energy just by itself. So that right there is saying you can fly a lot more, in addition to other stuff it does, of course. Whereas the legendary chassis is a rule breaker in that there is a game rule that if you are taking a lot of damage in a short amount of time, you're going to die. Well, it periodically lets you just say no.
That's awesome.
So going forward, every legendary item is going to have some kind of very special, either extraordinary stat amount or unique effect and proc, and oftentimes both.
Interesting question. How many legendaries can we carry? Is there a number of that?
There is however many equipment slots you have, and once we've gotten to making that many. They take a little bit more time investment in making them.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially if you're like adding in cool
Yep.
effects and
cool effects, procs, visuals, all those take
Yep.
more design time, but we'll be striving to create as many of these as are a good idea for the appropriate delivery mechanisms in game.
Awesome.
That pretty much answers the next question with legendary gear having unique benefits.
Yes, they will
yeah.
all have unique benefits.
Yeah.
Tick.
Will each equipable item have its own unique visual, so just regular items?
So this is a thing where we come against current technical and art limitations. It is absolutely part of the design and a plan that we'd like to bring online in the future, that when you change a piece of your gear, let's say I equip new arm gear, then we would like visuals on the appropriate part of your frame to change. We are not going to have that with the original release of the equipment system, but we will be hooking up visuals to all those pieces later in the future as art bandwidth and technical hurdles are overcome.
Yeah, it's something Phobos answered on Reddit as well, where it's like this is something we'd really like to do,
Yep.
is make it so that when you put on a piece of equipment, it actually changes the way your armor looks. And you're right, that's something that I know Lutz has been working on along with
Yep.
the modelers here and there, where we want that system, and we don't want to hold back the itemization
Yep.
changes. It's super important. I mean, we'd have to wait so much longer to wait for
That's
that to
right.
come in. For
We would rather get the functionality in first before we do the visual bits to it.
Yes. Cool.
All right, and next one. Will repair costs be adjusted to accommodate for the additional gear slots?
Yes. Repair costs will be approximately what they are currently, which means that we are lowering the repair cost individually on each piece of gear. Because you have more equipment slots, it's going to cost a lot less to repair each one individually.
Sweet. My Christites is happy. Will we receive more item slots?
So that one, I guess I have to try to interpret it. Does this mean inventory slots? It might, I guess, or it might mean more equipment slots in the future. I'd say never say never to any of them. We are looking into what we might be doing with more inventory space in the future. We have no promises we make right now, and so nothing to commit to at this moment.
Okay. What is the typical base difference between health and damage dealt from a rare versus an epic piece of gear?
So that's actually going to depend on the base level of the gear. Everything ascends on a curve. So let's say, for example, that the difference between item level 15 and item level 20 is 100 hit points. Well, the difference between item level 40 and item level 45 is going to be a lot bigger than that. It gets steeper towards the end. But basically, the difference is 5 item levels. That is not character levels, that's not monster levels. Item levels are their own separate track, and an epic item is 5 higher than a rare.
And a legendary is 5.
And the legendary is 5 higher than an epic.
Okay.
In addition to its other special
What's
stuff.
higher than a legendary?
Nothing is higher than a legendary.
Damn.
Can melee weapons have elemental damage types? For example, energy sword doing energy damage.
So yes, an energy sword actually does do energy damage. The other melee attacks are kinetic type. The grenades, as you guys saw earlier, run the whole gamut of elements. We have everything represented there. And in the future, we might be doing special auxiliary melee weapons that are different damage types. Like, for example, we might make a fire sword or something like that. But they do not have elemental prefixes that will randomize the element on a given item type. So as of now, you're not going to see a hammer drop as a fire hammer or an ice hammer. It's going to be a hammer.
Interestingly enough, since we're on elemental types, one of the things that Cowboy's working on is that we got shields that have elemental resistances.
That's right. So something that we have coming online is damage resistances by creature type or family, really. So let's say you're fighting Scorchers, which, as everyone knows, are fire hissers, lava hissers. So those are actually more vulnerable to cold damage, but resistant to fire damage. And so likewise, players will be able to get elementally attuned variants of their abilities that create energy shields. Let's say the Bastion energy shield or the Mammoth shield wall. And if you get an elementally attuned variant of that, then that will have different damage resistances and vulnerabilities of its own for its own hit point pool.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
The next community question
Okay.
is...
Bring it.
Oh, okay, let's see. Even with my glasses, I can't see. Okay. Well,
You have one job.
Mika's
I know,
blind as a
I know.
bat.
I'm
Glasses
so,
had one job.
I'm so blind. Will epic drops be seen even less than currently on live?
We're not planning on making things rarer. That's a really difficult question to answer, especially because we haven't gone to tuning final drop rates for things yet.
Mm-hmm.
I would say they're probably going to be seen more, but not as completely randomized drops. We're moving in a direction where you will be able to get specific items from certain content and you'll be able to go through a process to upgrade it to epic. So it'll be more of a deliberate action. You will still see random epics drop throughout the world as you're leveling up, but there's just going to be a focused end game way to try and get them.
It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Will there be options to have different voices for a Battleframe OS?
We would absolutely love to do this. So I'm not sure how many of you have played through the missions on PTS. One of them, it's a mission called Safe House, features a friendly AI for the bunker that you're exploring named Gigi.
Oh, Gigi.
We would love to have Gigi OS. We would love to have Knife Lady OS. We would love to have lots of different OSs.
Frank OS?
The problem is
Isn't
there
it enough?
there are major technical hurdles to being able to set up these dynamic voice packs of different lines and lines that they key to in the game and swap them in and out based on a piece of equipment. So it's a plan. We have created tasks for it. We are scoping out what is required to do it, and it's going on the backlog for a future update. So we want to do it. We just still need to explore how to actually make it happen.
Excellent.
Knife Lady OS.
2015. Ophanim OS obtained on black market. You're opening doors to make more manufacturers than those technically allied Ares.
So yes, this is in reference to the equipment types generally now have a manufacturer associated with them. It kind of pairs with the prefix to determine the final stats on the item. So like if you get a operating system that's distributed by the Accord, then it increases your weapon handling, so you can keep a rifle steady better. Whereas if you get a chassis made by Kisaton, it has extra ammo storage, so it increases your maximum ammo capacity. So yeah, to start with, we're only debuting with 4 manufacturers, but we'll certainly be adding more in later, and perhaps doing special ones.
Perfs.
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 Dang.
And if the question is, will you make more stuff in the future, the answer is always going to be yes.
Are we gonna make more things?
Yeah, I'm going to try and make more things, Frank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone asked in IRC for like a robot unicorn pony
That's hard.
mount.
Like,
So-
oh, a mount.
You probably don't want more of my art in the game than is already there.
What would an example be?
I put icons in for all the different gliders because when I came into the Red 5 design team, all the gliders were sharing the same icon.
Yeah, we were.
But really, the art should be left to artists, and I'm not an artist.
You made the
so-
Cobalt Phoenix War paint though.
I did. That's not really art so much as picking colors. So sure, we'll
Very
look
well.
into different vehicles and cool looking things, but I'm not really the right person to talk about, will you do X cool looking thing? Because I myself cannot make said cool looking things look cool.
That's true, but our artists are very fantastic. They're fantastic
Yes.
at making cool looking things.
Yes.
They are, yeah. So now it might happen in the form of, I might go and tell our concept artists and our modeling team, hey guys, for this upcoming content, I want a really cool new vehicle, and here's a general direction to work in.
Robot
And then-
unicorn.
And then they would concept something, then they would model it, but I don't think Robot Unicorn would fly. Sorry.
No, I'm pretty sure Ryder would shoot that down.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
before he even finished saying
Yeah. He would just say no.
unicorn.
And so when it comes
My
to art
dreams.
decisions, it's our lead artists who get to make that and not the designers. And for good reason.
Animal mount.
You-
Last one being community question. Does this mean level 60 enemies will be introduced?
No, so item level does not equal enemy level. A good way to look at it is that player level and enemy level move in tandem. So let's say you are level 40, you can expect to be fighting level 40 enemies in content. Or maybe if you're playing like hard mode content, it'll be level 42, 43 enemies, something like that. But your item level is going to be higher than that because if you're level 40, uncommon items would be item level 45, rare would be 50, epic would be 55, and a legendary if you had one, which is very a long-term goal. Those would be item level 60.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is we talk about these legendaries, and they're really cool.
Yep.
But it's a long-term goal. These
So-
are not something that you expect to set out and do in like a week.
So as the item level goes up, associated stats
That'd
on
be
the items
impressive.
go up, as does power rating and health amounts. And so, yes, you're getting more powerful, but it's not to the degree where one player is going to be utterly able to curb stomp group content. It's still going to be a collaborative effort to play at that highest end instance content, like hardcore difficulty operations. So you're still going to have progression at level cap, but just because you're in item level 50 gear doesn't mean that you have to fight enemy level 50 enemies for an appropriate challenge.
Cognac OS. Cognac
happen.
OS, Mustang OS.
I see someone in chat asking set bonuses. Everyone likes item sets. We want to make it a thing someday. We have, actually, we have the ability to implement things that would work like that now. The problem is it takes a lot of support from our user interface to communicate how the set bonuses work, when you get them and what they do. And our UI bandwidth is stretched really thin right now, as is actually our design time on just implementing all the basics of everything.
Absolutely.
So it's something that we have plans for in the works, and we want to do item sets in the future, but it's not happening immediately.
So one of the comments there on YouTube is the more we're talking, the more like crafters kind of feel like they're getting left out of the mix.
Oh,
now,
absolutely not. Gortalk sits right next to me. If you saw the Caption This photo that they put up on a couple days ago, Gortalk was in it as well.
He was actually in it, yes.
Yep.
We'll point it out.
And so we are working in tandem on how everything fits into crafting. Crafting will let you have the same types of options with regard to prefixes on your items and perhaps manufacturer types. We might have manufacturer types that are unique to crafting. We haven't cemented all the details yet. We're still working on the structure of it. But for example, as you're going through this incredibly cool crafting system that he's designing, which has a ebb and flow of several different stages, and I'm going to stop talking about that for the moment, you will get to make choices. And these choices that you make let you choose to head in a certain direction. Like you would choose a prefix to start with, and that would evolve into better prefixes that incorporate that first one. And so you'd get to make a lot of decisions that come out with the exact final type of item you really want.
Yeah, I mean, guys, the big thing is we've been giving a lot of attention to what we can, and we can't give a lot of attention to crafting right now in terms of like what we can talk about.
So one thing we can say is that the equipment stuff is probably happening before crafting goes live, because crafting still has a lot of major systems and work happening on it. But so crafting might just be gone for a little while, but when it comes back, it's going to be awesome. And just item drops just from killing things out and randomly are not going to are not going to overshadow what you can get by crafting.
Yeah, I mean, crafting is a huge thing. I know I know Gortalk's really passionate about it. You know, the team really cares about crafting, and crafting is going to be important, and that's what we're trying to work towards. And I remember back when we were first talking about itemization, when we were first talking about crafting, when you were first doing, I think before we did these itemization changes, you were doing rewards, and we were talking about how you and Gortalk were working together very closely to determine how, you know, rewards are, you know, are balanced versus crafting drops.
So let's say that let's say that in the future we're going to be doing new and updated and better raid rewards. There are of course going to be some cool things you can get directly as drops from killing a raid boss, but likewise there might be special crafting components that only come out of there that a crafter can turn into a raid item that only comes out of the crafting side of it.
Yeah.
So everything's going to be intertwined and it's going to work together so that there are rewards for playing the game, playing at all levels of content, and there are rewards for also pursuing crafting, or maybe even if you're not interested in that, just finding the things that the crafters want and get those things to the people who do like crafting.
Yeah, so crafting would be very, very important. What else did we have? Oh, there was one last thing I wanted to talk about was the interface that Phobos showed of like the character, the paper doll interface. There were two things on there, a vehicle slot and a glider pad slot. Now you could put your favorite vehicle for that battle frame and favorite glider pad for that battle frame in that slot, and those will now take up hotkeys
Yes.
instead of putting them on your hotbars.
So they're on your character page, but they're not really equipment. They're not equipped items that have stats on them. Instead, that is a way of connecting a glider and a vehicle to hotkeys on your keyboard. So you can get them off your action bar. You have limited real estate there, and so we're trying to do everything we can to really streamline this process, especially when it comes to things that otherwise would always be there. So for example, you'll no longer have health packs on your hotbar because there's a dedicated hotkey for it that activates your equipped medical system. You'll no longer need a vehicle and glider on your hotbar because there will be dedicated hotkeys for the ones that you put on your character screen.
But should you choose, and should you be one of those people that are like, I like to use multiple different vehicles, like I have an MGV and an LGV, or I have like my Celestial Wings and my glider
Yep,
pad.
you can still put extra ones on the hotbar.
You can still put the extra ones on the hotbar if you want, but I mean, you could just set, and those are per battle frame, right? So I can put different vehicles and different glider
Yes.
pads in different battle frames.
That's right.
So I can have like my purple vehicle for my purple recluse, you know, like my
If you want to get that far into
Matching.
my
it.
R54.
Matching.
Put my R54 in there, and then
I,
I
know
think
you matched your
my
vehicles.
favorite vehicle is the upcoming Grasshopper K18. That one has a rocket jump. Just-
can we get a heads up on that? No, they probably didn't load it.
And you said there's going to be no spoilers.
I have to talk spoilers.
Oh, there it is.
Yay! It's always like those
Rocket jumping LGV.
Yes. I occasionally like making vehicle abilities and seeing where I can work them in, so who knows what might turn up.
Timelines. So we're still working on how how we want to release all of
Yeah.
this stuff. I don't have an ETA to share with you guys. We're hoping to start rolling this stuff out this year. I can say that, but I don't have like a solid ETA I can give you or anything like that just yet.
And the thing is, guys, so I as a designer am actually completely divorced from the schedule. I don't know when things are happening. And from the designer side, we have internal deadlines that we're working on for certain milestones, which are being set by the people who do the planning, the producers, the leads, the studio heads. And so all this stuff is being worked on to make sure that we have features will be going out in tandem to make them as strong as possible, to make sure that we have the robust amount of content that's correct at the right time. And so all as overall studio strategy. So all I can really promise as a dev is that I'm going to keep making really cool stuff, and someday you're going to get it.
Yep. Everyone's asking about PTS. This is going to be on PTS first. We're hoping.
I hope it's going to be on PTS. I'd love to see you guys get your hands on
next
stuff.
month.
And
We're
get
hoping for
feedback.
next month
That's
There
exciting.
you go.
for PTS. Mika's in charge of the muse. That's correct.
Yes, someone has to do it.
All
Someone has to do
the
it.
muse.
I take one for the team.
What will we call this update? I don't know. I think we should call it.
Super happy fun time.
Yeah. You know, that's a folder in my public
Okay.
drive.
Okay.
Oh, is
Okay.
it really?
Yeah.
I must
It might be
confirm
super
this.
awesome fun time.
Firefall, water rise.
Oh my God, you really wanted to go down that.
It's too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
We kind of
We're
liked it.
we're hoping for sometime. I mean, again, sometime next month. That doesn't mean like next week, because I would have said that if I meant it, guys. I know next month is in 5 days, but. Oh my goodness, this is why we can't give you guys
Yeah.
estimates. I know you're joking around, but this is why. 'Cause it turns into like I said it was going to happen 3 weeks ago. What's going on?
I mean, as a designer, I know I can never make promises because stuff might change in the future that would make me have to break those, or more important things might come up that I have to do that means I can't do something I originally committed to. And as a person who's really passionate about this game, what I'm working on, it hurts if I say you guys are going to get something and then we can't deliver on it, just because of scheduling concerns, timing concerns, or technical concerns that come up later.
112 hours.
So I'm going to stop making promises. I'm just going to say I'm going to make cool stuff, and you'll get it when it's ready.
There was a question, I don't know if I misunderstood because it just scrolled up really quick. But for each frame, you know how you have the vehicle and the glider, will it give you a clean slate once you change your battle frame? Like will you have different, can you equip different vehicles to
Yeah.
different
Yes, you
frames?
can.
Okay,
Yeah.
so and it saves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
so
change
it's
it, okay.
it's frame
That,
specific.
that's not like taking that item out of your inventory or putting it
Yeah.
anywhere different. It's just assigning
Assigning
it to the
a
hotkey
hotkey.
for that frame.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, obviously I only have one Omnidynam LGV, right? So,
Yeah.
but I can put that on multiple battle
Smart.
frames
Yes,
if I
you
wanted
could
to.
put that in the hotkey slot on all your frames if
Is
you
the
want.
superior of all LGVs, in my opinion. Reminds me of Tron.
Another question is: are all the current grenades getting migrated as auxiliary weapons? I think that is
No, they're actually not being migrated. They'll still exist as consumables. They should still be functional as the current plan. You'll be able to use them up, and we're going to stop dropping new ones and stop having them on vendors. Because the goal is to have them generally phased out for the equipable auxiliary weapon ones.
awesome. Virus, I think the community is grateful for all these changes, these great ideas. I think so too. We've gotten a great response on that, but having to wait for the implementation is frustrating. Believe me, we understand. We feel you.
That's why we're giving you an early look at things.
We're giving you an early look at things. We want to get it on PTS, make sure we
Yeah.
get some testing feedback on where we should tweak and balance it. It's not an easy decision for the team to make, to wait for all these crazy changes. But
Oh, we've got a question there from Extra Soda I want to answer. Extra Soda asks, even the Earthshaker Bomb.
Ooh.
So right now the Earthshaker Bomb is a consumable that drops occasionally in small stacks from the Brontodon King. So those consumable ones you have will continue to exist and be consumable, but we have made a new auxiliary weapon one for the Brontodon King, which is a permanent equipable version of it. And it's still a really big explosion.
so you can get that from the Brontodon King, but some people think that you can get Rage of the Earth from the Brontodon King as well.
Actually, that's going to be a mission reward. Rage of the Earth would be
It's
a
from a-
Battle Hammer variant.
Yes.
And it's a hammer that shoots a shockwave in a straight line that goes boom, boom, boom. Just explodes the ground up, just one circle at a time in a line going forward from it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I like that
So
one personally.
that's not from, I guess the Brontodon King is from another guy.
That's from another guy. There are other guys. Other guys confirmed.
I have 515 Brontodon Ivory and still no pet. Who am I? Just about every player that's been hunting Brontodon
Yeah,
King.
basically.
A murderer. That's who you are.
Guys, I'm going to
How
admit
could you?
that pet is rare.
Super rare.
It drops.
I hadn't
People
seen
have
it.
gotten
Someone
it.
got one this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Good on that.
144 time, the 444th time, I think.
That's a low number.
I know. I was like, "Whoa, that's a lot," and then
So-
he was telling me like, "No, that's really
I'm
good."
going
I
to
was
say
like,
this.
"That's good."
I have, from time to time, seen people speculating or accusing, this is just a fake, it doesn't really drop. Well, I can track item drops, I can take a look, and it does drop. It drops fairly regularly. There are, occasionally,
Fairly
it drops at
regularly.
the expected rate. There are, I'm sure, a lot of people who have gotten it who don't advertise it or really, say anything about it, or who are not active on the forums. Occasionally, a person who has been hunting it and has been looking for it does get it, which apparently happened this week. It drops. It's really rare, and it's going to stay really rare. It's okay for there occasionally to be cosmetic things in the game that are extremely rare to get. And hey, you could sell it on the market for a lot if you get lucky enough to get it.
Like all the credits.
All of them.
Literally all of the credits.
Every last credit.
Hercules. So we have a frame of reference. Someone got one this week. I don't think that really gives you a frame of reference. It gives you a frame of reference of it's super rare. I know JK to kill is probably creeping up, maybe past 1,000 Brontodon kill
Wow.
or Brontodon King kills, and I don't think he's got it yet.
RNG is
Damn.
RNG.
They're killing the Brontodon King in
RNG
7
gods.
seconds now. That's interesting because I was doing Brontodon King the other day and it took us like half an hour to kill him. I mean,
Oh, you're doing it wrong.
I am. I mean, I
Man,
was using
7
an
seconds.
Electron.
Yeah.
But I was dropping incursions on top of them too.
Okay.
Sounds about right. Every time.
They just
Every
Mika
time.
sits next to me. She just looks over my screen like, Mika,
Cruel.
look.
You're cruel.
Why are there 7 incursions in one spot?
You're gonna break the server.
Oh, you guys.
That's one of my favorite parts. Oh my goodness. So, given that the team's trying to put in, everyone's been putting in some overtime. I know you've been very exhausted, but you still have a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it out, and we're gonna wrap it up and go into every week we post a candid photo of people working at the office on Facebook, and we actually link to it from Twitter, and we ask you to caption the photo. It's one of my favorite times of the week to get everyone's captions together. This week, Brad took a snapshot of David while he was working, and we, like we said, we had Gortok in the background, so he does exist.
He does exist. He's working on crafting. He and I are keeping in touch and are on the same page to make sure that equipment and crafting will work together.
Someone slot in Knife Lady OS. Does the TriCaster have a Knife Lady OS slot?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh.
We totally need Knife Lady OS. We need to make this happen.
Oh my God. Did you boot up?
I was thinking about my boot up today, and I was gonna go with Balthazar,
I like it.
Melchior,
So-
Cap.
Brad said he could totally picture you saying that too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I could see myself saying that also.
Yes.
Go away.
In any case, I'm booted up.
You're
First
booted up
one
now?
is
Yes.
Ska Dude, go away. I'm making the game awesome. Day 472. They have yet to notice my amassing pony army.
No one's noticed yet.
Rainbow Dash is my spirit animal. Let's show the
I
world
like
how
these
awesome
captions.
I can be.
Good job, guys.
They know you.
Soon.
Soon.
Chosen pony.
Soon. Pew, 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 pew. Heh, these cats are funny. Man, I'm awesome. Look at the community going
I'll
nuts
admit,
on my new
I was
blog.
keeping tabs on people's responses to the blog. I'm glad that people generally seem to like it.
Holy moly, okay.
Gotcha.
My little red
You
five
have to sing
Dev.
it.
Oh,
No.
This is a song, by the way. I hope you
Really?
rehearsed.
I didn't rehearse this, sorry. This
I
is
don't
gonna
have a
be
singing
read in a
voice.
very
Not sure if you
Android
could
way. I just lost brony points. My little red 5 dev, my little red 5 dev, la la la. I used to wonder what itemization could be until you shared it with me. Big changes, tons
No-
of
no
code,
singing
a
is
beautiful frame. Bulky
You'll
and
never see me
strong,
singing.
sharing kills. It's not an East feast, and the herd
I'm
can't
singing in my
wait to
head.
compete.
That's okay. As long as it stays there.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to sing it out loud.
And that was the last one.
That was the last one.
Oh, okay then. Well, I guess
That
that's all
was
the captions we got.
That
a
was.
good way to end it.
I'm pretty sure that was Renee, aka in-game Twilight Sparkle. Awesome. Well, David, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and chat about the game with us.
It was my pleasure. I mean, what do I do aside from this? I sit in a dark room in front of a computer all day.
That's true. And look at
hiss
cat
at people
pictures,
who walk
apparently.
Yep, I hiss at people on the light side.
Hiss. Every
That's true.
time.
Yeah, you come by every now
Yeah.
and then. Hey, how's it going? Mika, thank you.
Oh, I was
Thank
like,
you.
wait, what? Oh,
Yay,
okay. Yay.
Mika's
I don't
here.
know why we're clapping, but we're
Yay,
clapping for
word,
Mika.
yay.
N-
I don't do that. Just go with it.
Another well-planned Firefall Live. Next week we will not have a show because in the U.S. we are celebrating 4th of July.
Oh yeah, that's next week. Wow.
Freedom.
Yeah, we have.
Holy
yeah.
crap.
Yep.
Where'd this year go?
So next week we will not have a show. The week after, so I have to apologize to you guys because I got the schedule mixed up. The week after we are gonna have what are their names? It's Frank and Nick from the sound
Yes,
team.
yes.
Frank and Nick from the sound team. They're gonna be on the show, and after that we're gonna have Cowboy on the show. And that's gonna be. Basically, when Cowboy's on the show, we're going to be like, here's what all the changes with the battle frames are going through, which are really exciting.
Yeah, you guys will like talking to Cowboy. He's been the guy reworking the functionality of our weapons and our battle frame classes. So while I might be making like cool loot and rewards and stuff, he's doing like what your gun does when you shoot it, which is also pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I almost spilled a lot of the beans about Bastion in Zone the other day. A lot of cool changes because a lot of people are concerned about the deployable decay rate, but I'm like, oh, the Bastion can kind of keep it nest up forever.
Spoiler, I like what he's done with Tiger Claw abilities, but not the Tiger Claw gun.
We'll see.
You guys will
It's
find
like
out.
that. It's like that.
In
We'll
the
see.
future.
It's all really exciting. I mean, they're going to be great fun changes. Again, we're going to probably, Mika and I are probably going to get together with him to do some B-roll of us doing run-throughs of missions and stuff so you can see the different stuff. No, not new battle frames. These are all full passes on all the battle frames because unfortunately they got left in a weird state where not all of them got full passes. But full passes on all that stuff. So it's going to be great. But until next time, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Nice seeing you.